Welcome to Impact by DIFA Dallas, the official podcast of the Dallas chapter of the Design Industries Foundation Fighting AIDS. We'll share valuable info about the fight against HIV and AIDS, what our organization is doing to assist those in our community, and most importantly, how you can help us make a real impact.
Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into this episode of Impact. I'm your host, Shane Allen. Today we're talking about HIV care in rural communities. And to have this conversation, we've asked Jeanette Deas-Calhoun, who's the Executive Director of East Texas Cares, to join us. Jeanette, hello, how are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm fine.
Of course. And before we get started, explain for folks who may not be familiar what East Texas Cares is all about.
East Texas Cares has been a part of this community now for, 34 years. We started as a resource center, and now we've come full circle. We're a resource center again. However, when we began 34 years ago, we were asked to, instead of having services with information being distributed so that people understood how this virus was being transmitted, we were asked by persons in the healthcare community to use our almost 5,000 square foot building to set up instead a hospice and to also provide medical services for people that were being diagnosed with this virus that was not understood in the community. And at that time, persons that were diagnosed were not admitted into our hospitals, nor were they admitted into our hospices.
How did you get involved with East Texas Cares?
I got involved with East Texas Cares because I have a brother who moved to this community that I brought to this community about 16 years ago, and he's living positive. He has since left the community, and when I brought him here, I started to do research to see what services were available for him, and I was shocked when I found how limited the services were for persons who were HIV positive. I helped him with navigating the system. Luckily for my brother, he is a veteran, and so we were able to get services for him outside of the community at the Dallas VA.
It's important to note, too, that East Texas Cares is a beneficiary of DIFA Dallas. And also important to remind everyone, our name, DIFA Dallas, is almost a misnomer. There's Dallas in our title, but your dollars when you donate to DIFA go far beyond Dallas. They go to not just other areas in North Texas, including Fort Worth, but other areas in our region, including Tyler. And
exactly.
I want to tell a story that I think, for me personally at least, stresses the importance of an organization like East Texas Cares. Mm-hmm. I have someone in my family who had moved to a relatively rural part of the country. I would not call Tyler rural, but there are certainly suburbs and neighborhoods around Tyler that would be considered rural. And this person was diagnosed with HIV. Mm-hmm. And were it not for an organization very much like East Texas Cares that happened to be in that person's area, they would not have been able to afford antiretroviral therapy. And goodness knows what might have happened. But thankfully, there was that type of organization. But this person was lucky. And so are the people who live in East Texas. They're lucky. But not everyone has access to assistance like that, right?
That's correct. We actually have, in our agency, when we do an intake, we actually gather information from the individual and we determine what programs and what services they might be eligible for, in addition to the services offered by our agency. We certainly get them connected with a medical provider immediately. And it's always great when we have somebody who's planning to move to East Texas, give us a call and say, hey, I'm planning on moving down in 6 weeks, and I just wondered, what would help with expediting things. And of course, we do the intake on the phone, and when the person arrives, we have an appointment set up for them so that they can get in to see a medical provider right away. And we, with that intake, if they're eligible for the SNAP program, we get them signed on with that. Our agency also has a health insurance assistance program, and if they are, well, anyone can participate in that program. Even if they're working and their employer offers them insurance, we can still pay the premium and the copays. We also have a pantry, and we're very proud of our pantry, and we're often questioned about the poundage of food that we give away by the East Texas Food Bank, because we're very generous. We're very generous, and our clients, of course, need a lot of protein, and we're because of funding that we received from DIFA, we're able to provide that. The other thing that our agency provides is nutritional supplements like Glucerna, and we give each client that is having problems with maintaining weight, or if they're having wasting issues, we give them a case of Glucerna every month. Wow.
We spoke with someone a couple of weeks ago who runs a company that connects people with LGBTQ friendly doctors, and if you're living with HIV, they'll connect you with a doctor who is learned in the area of HIV and can help people out. But he said that in rural communities, and we've certainly seen it as well, the availability of direct care services and good health care as it relates to HIV and AIDS is disproportionately lower. Why do you think that is in those rural areas?
I think it's probably because of the stigma, and doctors, of course, they get to select their patients, and some doctors just aren't comfortable. And we do have doctors in the community that are very happy to serve as primary care physicians, and when we're asked about referrals, we refer persons to doctors that we know are happy to see them and happy to care for them, especially with women, to give them their well woman's checkup. And we also have an FQHC in Tyler, and persons can get excellent care from this FQHC lookalike as well.
Thankfully, East Texas has East Texas Cares, but not every community has an organization like yours. What can we do to fix this problem of disproportionately lower access to direct care services for people living with HIV?
We are, and I belong to an organization, and we got funding about 2 years ago to look at the low health indicators and the poor health indicators in East Texas, and so we're looking at these indicators, and we're looking at drivers. Why are these things happening? What's causing them? And so we're digging deeper. It's not just enough to wait until somebody develops lung cancer or develops HIV and then say, we need to do something about that. So we're digging deeper. We're trying to find the drivers, and right now we're focusing on mental health and children, because we have a serious problem with mental health issues. We have a higher suicide rate than any other region in the state. And so we're trying to determine why. And that's another reason we're so excited about the medical school that's coming, because a lot of people come to East Texas and they participate in, we had a family residency program, but now we have more residency programs. And doctors tend to stay where they train because they develop mentors there, they develop connections with the community. So we are on a plan to grow our own.
Yeah, and we were talking offline before we started the interview about the medical school that's scheduled to come to Tyler, Texas. Really exciting news there. What is it? What do you think that? Is there anything I should ask if that people are just they don't know, they're unfamiliar with as it relates to HIV care in rural communities compared to folks who might live in Dallas, who are in their bubble and think, oh, I've got a great doctor who's very affirming and knows about PrEP or knows about antiretroviral therapies, and I live undetectable and I'm going to be okay. It's not like that for anyone else, or for other people, I should say, in rural communities.
We're still having difficulty with getting PrEP programs up and going. I have been working with 2 organizations that have been providing some assistance, but we still don't have a PrEP program up and going. And we're told that it may be October before we can get this program up and going. We also have tried to collaborate with hospitals, and we actually brought someone in to talk with residents and to talk with doctors about PrEP and how it can prevent persons from becoming infected. I got some real interesting responses from doctors with respect to that. Some of them did not want to use their license to provide a program like PrEP. They were concerned about problems that might occur and how that it might impact their license to practice. And then there were other persons, for example, with this one hospital, they were concerned that they would not be able to cover their expenses. And I actually had someone come down and talk with them about that. But the truth of the matter is, I think, is a lack of interest. And so we're, again, still, working to try to develop a PrEP program. And as you know, PrEP is a program that has very few minorities participating and subpopulations participating, and that is something that we desperately need in East Texas.
Yeah, it's something we were actually talking about in our last episode a couple of weeks ago, that 1 in 9 gay and bisexual men know about PrEP, but according to the CDC, only 35% of them use it. And as you said, it's disproportionately lower among people of color. Interesting information about actively pursuing PrEP programs in your area, but doctors being unwilling to do that. The reasons they give, valid, I'm sure, to them and their reality, but why do you really think that you're having trouble really getting these programs off the ground?
I really think it's because of the stigma. I think it's because of the stigma, and that's something that's very, very hard to deal with. We and when I have an opportunity to speak with people and I just share this information generally, I think one of the reasons our agency has benefited from DIFA is because there have been so many people that have left East Texas because they are not allowed to live their lives as they choose. And so, we're still dealing with a serious stigma problem.
Yeah, for a word that is only 6 letters, it's such a huge word, stigma, and it's something that comes up in so many conversations that we have about HIV and AIDS. It's a word that is probably said more in all of our episodes of Impact than any other word, and that's why it's part of DIFA's mission, among other things, to really reduce the stigma. And hopefully by having conversations like this, we're etching at that wall as best we can to tear it down. Yeah, it's and it should be such a normal conversation to have, right? It's about your long-term health and safety as a person. It's about preventing through PrEP the transmission of HIV. It's conversations about if you contract HIV to become virally suppressed and undetectable through antiretroviral therapy. And it's something, as I told my family member that I spoke about in the beginning of the episode, this is something that you will die with, not from. Everything will be okay. And there are a lot of really good scientists working really hard toward a cure so we can see our first AIDS-free generation.
That will be absolutely wonderful. It really, really will be. And I guess if there's one thing, and I'm happy that we're now taking steps to end the HIV epidemic, in 9 years now. But the last 2 HRSA major grants that were issued did not include rural areas. In Texas, I think there were only 4 communities that were included, and one proposal actually had the term rural in it. And I mean, what is Texas but a rural community? I think that we would better serve people if we took a broader view in dealing with ending the epidemic by not just focusing on those 57 communities that had diagnosed very high diagnosed numbers, but we don't truly know what the numbers are in East Texas because we don't do enough testing. So we don't really know.
HRSA, of course, the Health Resources and Services Organization. And that's why it's so important to give at a time where giving is down across the board. Because, people aren't attending events and it becomes out of sight, out of mind. And and that's why DIFA is so important, right? We help fill that critical gap in funding. As funding goes down, DIFA dollars and organizations like ours become so much more important to organizations like yours and others. And the fact that our money is unearmarked, so you can use it for whatever you need to continue your mission. It's not, you don't have to use it for this or have to use it for that. It's whatever you need to continue to operate and to serve the men, women, and children living with HIV and AIDS in East Texas.
And if were it not for the funding that we receive, we would not be able to provide persons that need nutrients, supplemental nutrients such as the Glucerna. There's no way we could buy a case of Glucerna and give it to one individual. And so we're very, very appreciative of that. And then we have some families that are not able to come in because of transportation issues, but once every 2 months. So when they come in once every 2 months, we provide them with protein, and we provide them with other food items that will help them with that 2 month span, because we know they're not going to be able to get back in again. And we also buy cards, transportation. We give them gas cards. Some persons are able to get a family member to maybe drive them in once a month, and if they can get that family member to bring them in and visit our pantry, then of course we're happy to give them the gas card. And we also provide like personal hygiene items, and it's just amazing how beneficial these items are, and what we do for people is it's just tremendous, and they're so thankful.
What can someone do today, right now, to help out East Texas Cares?
Today, we would be really well served by having additional gas cards, so that, because we have a huge region, a very huge region. I mean, we have people that come from as far away as Gun Barrel City, okay? So, when they make the trip into town and they go back home again, that's probably half tank of gas. So I mean, it's very hard for them to pay utilities, pay rent, and do all of those things, and cover the cost of gas too. So when they come in to visit the pantry, and they come in and we assist them with other things. Maybe they've gotten letters that they don't understand and they need assistance with. If they come in and we can give them a gas card, it makes the trip a lot easier.
Something so seemingly small to another person can go such a long way for someone else.
Yes. Gas cards, those kinds of things mean a lot.
Jeanette Deas-Calhoun, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate all the work that you do.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to visit with you.
And if you want to help out, if you're watching this or listening to it and you want to help out, take out your cell phone right now. Text the word DIFFA, D-I-F-F-A, to 243-725, and you can help out right now. You can help out East Texas Cares and all of the other AIDS service organizations that DIFFA provides funding to. You can also find out more information about us and about all of our AIDS service organizations, including East Texas Cares, at diffadallas.org. Thanks for watching.